Thank you for joining me on TMI Tuesday. As I did say earlier on that we're going to be observing, like World Water Day was observed yesterday. It was commemorated worldwide, and discussing the value of water and the implications of poor sanitary conditions to humans. I have with me the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Water Resources, Edo State, Mrs. Okonjo Obo. Mrs. Akonje Obo. Thanks for coming, Mr. Akonje Obo. We have been having those whole Sustainable Development Goals for the World Water Day, which is on sanitation and water for all in the year 2030. And it also comes with its theme, valuing water. What do you make of this?
Okay, actually the World Water Day is an annual observant day worldwide, and then it sets aside mainly to highlight the importance of fresh water.
Okay.
It's also to create awareness of the global water crisis. We have over 2.5 billion people who do not have access to safe water across the world. We also use the day for advocacy for sustainable management of water resources. Also, we also use this day to support the SDG 6 goal for water, sanitation, and hygiene for all by 2030.
Okay, let me quickly take you on the beat in Edo State. We have the goals, the SDGs on water and sanitation for all 2030. Yes. What's the drive of the state government to meet this mark?
Now, as it is, since this particular administration, we have a new policy in
place.
Okay. We have a new policy in place, and taking into consideration the people, most especially the people in the grassroots. So the population has been stratified. We have 5,000 people and below for us rural. We have about we have 20. The population between 5,000 and 20,000. Over from the old defunct urban water board.
Okay, are you saying this is? Are you saying this is already functional?
Yeah, as it is. We started with a pilot scheme. You know, the water situation is not so good at the moment, but with the present administration, this urban water corporation has been set up, and we are using Uromi Ugboha. We have a very gigantic facility there. So we are using that facility as a pilot scheme. As it is, in December, we run water in Uromi and Ugboha.
Okay, this pilot scheme started when?
Okay, it's the implementation of the scheme started. Okay, the federal government started it actually. Okay, yeah. They built the dam and handed it over to the Edo State government in 2019. Okay. Now we went into reticulation. The government put 300 million into reticulation of that water to Uromi and environs.
Okay.
So as at December last year, everything was set in place for the water facility to run.
Okay, you made mention of Uromi. I think, is this going to also take a capture of the 18 local governments across the state?
Okay, well, that's a pilot scheme. We have other dams that we are, as it is, feasibility studies is being done at Ojirami, at Ebohimi, and some of our other dams and wells. Okay. So that we can put in place a good water infrastructure to serve the people, to deliver portable water supply in line with the Sustainable Development Goal 6. of getting water to the potable water, not just water, getting potable water to the people at very close distance and at affordable price.
Okay. In case you're just joining us as TMI, and I've been having a chat with the Permanent Secretary of Edo Ministry of Water Resources, Mrs. Akonje Obo, and we are on the World Water Day, which was commemorated worldwide yesterday. Let's shift our attention again to the aspect of the water board, because a lot of persons believe that the water board is already, the facility there is already antiquated, and we understand that it's moribund. But is there a plan by the state government to revamp this board?
Yes, as it is, like I mentioned before, we are already, the corporation has already been established, has been staffed. We have started work to an extent, at least distribution of water to an extent at Ugboha Uromi access. Now we intend to scale up. We intend to scale up. The infrastructure as it is had some negative effect from road construction. Some of our pipes have been dug up. So what we are doing in essence now is to reticulate the whole place for proper water distribution. Work already is on.
Okay, so are you saying that in no distant time would there be a time frame at which there will be potable clean water even in rural areas?
Yes, as it is, we've had intervention in 5 local governments.
In 5 local governments?
Yes, not just water alone, sanitation inclusive, in schools, in health centers, and in other public places like marketplaces.
Okay, reports have it that due to poor sanitary condition and poor access to water, about 17,000 children under 5 lost their lives annually. And now, if we take this bracket and take that of Edo State into cognizance, what is the government doing in terms of schools? Because we also understand that schools need clean, potable water. Is there any drive by the government in this direction?
Yes. As at yesterday, we couldn't come for this talk yesterday because I was at Ogbe Secondary School and Obaseki Primary School area, commissioning a water facility. So as it is also, work is already, feasibility studies is being done in over 276 schools.
In the state?
Yes, in the state, to put in to build this not just water infrastructures, but also sanitation facilities for the students of the state.
Okay, some will say, is this not rather coming late, looking at the consideration of the COVID-19 world we are presently faced with?
Well, in our own perspective, things you can't say things are coming. It is better to do things than leave them aside and say it's late. As we are not just starting now. Like I said before, we had already visited rural local governments. So we are scaling up to other local governments as it is now. We visited 5 local governments: Ovia North East, Onwa West, Esako West, and Ikobaoha and Humude local governments. We have functioning sanitation facilities there. We have functioning water facilities there, because wherever we have a sanitation facility, automatically we must put a water facility there. Because the sanitation facility cannot work without the water facility. The government is already looking into that. And before long, the other feasibility studies that is going on, we will begin to see the manifestation of the works being done there in the near future.
Due to poor sanitary conditions and the aspect where unavailability of adequate toilet facilities for public use, this again also generates health hazards, right? So is the government looking at this direction?
Yes, as it is, the governor launched open defecation free state day in November last year. Now, what we are doing towards that is trying to site sanitation facilities in strategic places in the state where we have high human traffic, like in Ring Road, like in Oluku. All those places are under consideration. And then in the interior, in Auchi, where we have high human traffic, we are looking into how to get sanitation facilities there. And then after that, after putting those sanitation facilities there, we are going to enforce the laws.
Okay, when you say you are looking into,
Yes.
does it mean that no feasibility study has been carried out for now in that regard?
We have invited proposals, so from different investors. So we are considering their proposals now. We want to put everything in place such that such places will be sustained. We don't want a situation of putting a facility there and then it becomes moribund. We are not doing that anymore.
Okay.
So we are putting modalities in place to ensure sustainability of such facilities.
Okay, one thing is sure to do this and another to sustain it.
Yes.
What do you see as limitations of the government in terms of making this work and sustaining it?
Now, the limitations will be mostly in terms of the orientation of people to it. Now, if we introduce this and then we create awareness and people respond positively to it, definitely there will be cost recovery. We'll be able to sustain those facilities.
Okay.
That will be the major constraint.
Okay. Well, let's look at the angle of boreholes. Now, the various residents, mostly in urban areas, are now helping themselves to take over the responsibility of government. What is your assessment of the generation of boreholes in residents?
Now,
Does it produce any risk?
Okay, now, the proliferation of boreholes has become a concern to the government. Even for our facilities now, we are looking at rehabilitation. We do not, except it's extremely necessary, we do not want to drill boreholes as much any longer, because we need to consider the environment beneath the earth surface, inside the earth crust.
Okay.
Because if you create a vacuum, definitely something has to occupy it.
Yeah.
So we don't want a situation where we now have crisis and like natural disasters like earthquake. Here the geology of Edo State is stable as it is, so we wouldn't want to go on drilling boreholes.
Okay.
In these places.
So,
and as long as we are with the works we are doing now, we, like I told you, we started with a pilot scheme in Europe. Yes. Eventually we graduate, we scale up. We eventually come to this Benin City environment.
Okay, but we know that the government is continuum. But
Yes.
with what you just said now, we have the pilot scheme on,
Yes.
starting with Uromi.
Yes.
At what time frame do you think it could take a spread on the 18 local governments? Looking at the time frame before the second term of the governor of Edo State, is it possible to finish strong in that regard before
No.
the tenure elapses?
No, when plans are made, they are made for a long. They are long-term plans that are made.
Okay.
You understand? So as it is, what this present administration is doing is establishing institutions,
Okay.
so that whatsoever government comes in, we continue from the previous where the previous government stopped.
Okay.
So it's not like this administration is going to finish all the works, but they will put in the foundation all the modalities necessary for the incoming administrations to work on and to succeed in governance.
Okay, is there a plan for government to regulate boreholes in this state? Like some information we keep getting that
No, we
they could
are-
be made to pay some taxes. Is that in that direction?
At the moment, no plans as such,
Okay.
but we are looking into establishing a regulatory commission. So the commission will go into the concerns of boreholes,
Okay.
and then water production and all that, because the objective of the water resources of government giving water to people is that the people might get potable water
Okay.
at very close distance to them.
All right.
And then we do not want any form of pollution. We do not want to take our eyes off people producing water. It needs to have high quality.
Okay.
So all those things we are putting in place, all those things that were not in place before, this present administration is putting it in place gradually.
Okay.
It's not a one-day job.
Okay.
So we are doing that gradually.
I know this next question I want to be asking you. I should be asking an expert directly in that direction. But Well, I don't think anything is too much for the permanent secretary because you are able in capacity to really perform in this direction. Let's look at the quality of the borehole water. Is it safe for drinking?
Now, we do not take borehole water and then drink. Immediately after constructing a borehole facility, we need to take it for analysis. The quality of water depends on the geology of the area. It depends on the component, the mineral component of the soil material in that area. Okay. So you don't drill a borehole and say, okay, this is clean. There's a general idea that the Edo water is clean. Yes, at a point we could say the Edo water is clean, but a situation where you now take samples from some boreholes and then you analyze, and E. coli is there. What is E. coli doing inside the borehole? What's it doing inside that water? Because ordinarily there's this self-filtration process, self-cleaning process of water as it descends. There's filtration, gradual filtration. The heat in the earth crust purifies it. So it has a self-purification nature. I mean water as it is. So we expect that water down there should be clean. But one way, because of the action, the activities of man, we discovered that there are some contaminants now going into the water body. Okay. So in a few years ago, you could just drill in Edo State, not Edo State, Benin City per se, and drink the water. Okay. But we have discovered that in areas like Igbobazuwa, the water there has high iron content. You can't drill and take it. It's not portable. So treatment has to go into water now. Okay. You analyze, you know the status of your water before ingesting it. Okay.
Availability of water in the year 2030, ensuring sanitation in the year 2030. These are really sustainable development goals, like you earlier mentioned, about 6 goals in that direction. Are you also capturing marketplaces?
Yes.
Of ensuring that sanitary conditions are...
Yes, we are capturing marketplaces. Okay. I said that in our pilot local governments, the 5 local governments I mentioned before, we not only visited the schools and the primary health centers, we also went to marketplaces, okay, even motor parks, okay, to build these sanitation facilities. Okay. We are looking at a situation where we have visited most of these places in the 18 local government areas, then we enforce the law. Okay. It will be unjust to enforce a law when we have not put the facilities in place. Okay. So once we are there and we enforce the law, we will see that sanitation conditions in the state would have improved. Water situation in the state also would have improved.
Thank you very much for taking our time to be part of this show. We just had an interview, a chat with the Permanent Secretary, Edo Ministry of Water Resources, Mrs. Akonje Obo. Well, we'll be taking a short break, and after which we're going to be looking at ailing refineries in the country, task before the President, Muhammadu Buhari. Stay with me.